I can still hear the echo of my father's voice, stern and unyielding, as he drilled Bible verses into my 8-year-old mind. Jacob, recite Proverbs 1:7. My palms were sweaty, my heart racing as I stammered, The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. Good, he nodded, his approval as fleeting as a summer breeze. Remember, son, you are destined for great things in his service. The weight of expectation pressed down on my small shoulders, heavier than any Bible I'd ever held. Mom sat quietly in the corner, her eyes darting between us, a forced smile plastered on her face. As the grandfather clock in the hall chimed 9, Dad finally closed his worn leather Bible. Time for bed, Jacob. We'll continue tomorrow. I climbed the creaky stairs to my room, the floorboards groaning under each step as if sharing my exhaustion. The smell of lemon polish and old wood filled my nostrils, scents that usually brought comfort but now seemed suffocating. Tucked into bed, I stared at the ceiling, Bible verses swirling in my head like leaves caught in an autumn wind. Sleep came, but it wasn't the peaceful rest I craved. In my dream, I stood in our church, but it was wrong. The pews were twisted, the walls seemed to breathe, and where the cross should have been, there was only a gaping black hole. A voice, unlike anything I'd ever heard, rasped from the darkness. Jacob. I tried to run, but my feet were rooted to the spot. From the shadows, they emerged, grotesque figures with bodies that seemed to shift and change. Their eyes glowed an angry red, fixed on me with a hunger that made my blood run cold. No, I whimpered, my voice small and broken. Please, no. Clawed hands reached for me, inky black and dripping with something I didn't want to identify. I could feel their cold touch on my skin, hear their raspy breathing. I jolted awake with a scream caught in my throat, my nightshirt soaked with sweat. The bedroom door burst open, light from the hallway spilling in. Jacob, what's wrong? Mom's voice was tinged with worry as she rushed to my bedside. I tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come. How could I explain what I'd seen? Dad appeared in the doorway, his imposing figure blocking most of the light. Another nightmare? He asked, his tone more exasperated than concerned. I nodded, still unable to find my voice. Mom stroked my hair, her touch gentle but doing little to calm the terror still coursing through me. It's okay, sweetie. It was just a bad dream. Probably all that Bible study before bed, Dad grunted. Your mind's just processing it all. But it hadn't felt like just a dream. The terror, the smell of sulfur, the cold touch of those things. It had all been so real. Do you want to talk about it? Mom asked softly. I opened my mouth ready to pour out every terrifying detail, but then I caught Dad's eye. His gaze was hard, expectant. What would he think if he knew what I'd seen? Would he be disappointed, angry? No, I stammered. It's okay, just a silly dream. Dad nodded approvingly. That's my boy. Dreams can't hurt you, Jacob. Remember, God is always watching over you. But as they left the room, closing the door behind them, I couldn't shake the feeling that something else was watching too. Something that God might not be able to protect me from. I lay there in the dark, covers pulled up to my chin, afraid to close my eyes. Every shadow seemed to move, every creak of the old house making me jump. It was just a dream, I whispered to myself, trying to believe it. Just a dream, but deep down in a place I was too scared to acknowledge, I knew it was more than that. This was just the beginning of something I couldn't understand or escape. The next morning, I trudged down to breakfast, dark circles under my eyes from a sleepless night. Dad sat at the table, already dressed in his pastor's collar, reading his Bible. "Morning, champ," he said without looking up. "Sleep well?" I mumbled, a non-committal response, sliding into my chair. Mom set a plate of pancakes in front of me, her brow furrowed with concern. "You still look tired, sweetie. Are you sure you're okay?" Before I could answer, Dad interjected, "He's fine, Martha. Probably just excited about coming to the church with me today." My stomach churned at the thought. The church, in my dream, it had been... No, I couldn't think about that now. "Do I have to go?" I asked, my voice small. Dad's head snapped up, his eyes narrowing. Of course you do. It's never too early to start learning the family business. Family business. As if saving souls was the same as running a grocery store or fixing cars. But I started, then faltered under his stern gaze. No buts, Jacob. This is your future we're talking about. You'll be standing at that pulpit yourself one day. The pancakes turned to ash in my mouth. I couldn't shake the image of that twisted, nightmarish version of our church. What if it wasn't just a dream? What if it was a warning? But I knew better than to argue. In our house, Dad's word was law, almost as unquestionable as the Bible itself. As we drove to the church, I pressed my forehead against the cool glass of the car window, watching the familiar streets of our small town roll by. Everything looked normal in the bright Sunday morning light. Families dressed in their best, walking to various churches. Mrs. Johnson watering her prized roses. Old Mr. Peterson smoking his pipe on his porch, nodding as we passed. But to me it all seemed like a thin veneer, a fragile shell hiding something dark and terrifying underneath. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and prayed. Not the formal memorized prayers Dad had taught me, but a desperate, silent plea. Please, God, if you're really there, if you're really listening, don't let it be real. Don't let them be real. The car stopped. I opened my eyes to see the familiar white steeple of our church looming above us. Dad was already out of the car, striding towards the entrance where he'd greet the congregation. Come on, Jacob, he called over his shoulder. Time to start learning your future. With leaden feet, I followed, each step feeling like I was walking towards my doom. As we approached the church doors, I could have sworn I heard a faint whisper on the wind. Jacob! I froze, my hand on the door handle, heart pounding. It couldn't be. Not here. Not now. Jacob! What are you waiting for? Dad's voice snapped me back to reality. I swallowed hard and pushed open the door, stepping into the church. Everything looked normal. Sunlight streaming through stained glass windows, the smell of old hymnals and wood polish, the soft murmur of arriving parishioners. But as I walked down the aisle, following Dad to the front pew, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me, waiting. And I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to my core, that this was only the beginning. The summer I turned 15 was when everything really went to hell, literally. I sat in my usual spot in the front pew, tugging at the collar of my starched shirt, sweat trickling down my back in the stuffy church. Dad's voice boomed from the pulpit, but I couldn't focus on his words. My eyes kept darting around the congregation, searching for something, anything out of place. Jacob, Mom whispered, nudging me. Pay attention. I nodded, trying to focus on Dad's sermon, but the words blurred together, drowned out by the incessant whispering that had become my constant companion. Jacob. We're waiting, Jacob. I squeezed my eyes shut, willing the voices to stop. When I opened them again, my breath caught in my throat. There, in the third row, sat something that couldn't possibly be human. Its skin was a sickly gray, pulled too tight over sharp bones. Its eyes, pitch black and gleaming, were fixed on me, and it was smiling. No, I whispered, my hands gripping the edge of the pew so hard my knuckles turned white. The thing's grin widened, revealing rows of needle-sharp teeth. It raised a gnarled hand and waggled its fingers at me in a mocking wave. Jacob? Mom's concerned voice seemed to come from far away. Are you feeling all right? I couldn't tear my eyes away from the creature. It was standing now, moving towards me with a jerky, unnatural gait. No one else seemed to notice it. He's coming for you, Jacob, the voices whispered. He's going to take you home. No, I shouted, leaping to my feet. Stay away from me. The church fell silent. Dad stopped mid-sentence, all eyes turning to me. But I didn't care. The demon was almost upon me, reaching out with clawed hands. Jacob! Dad's voice cracked like a whip. What is the meaning of this? I stumbled backwards, pointing at the creature. Can't you see it? It's right there! Confused murmurs rippled through the congregation. The demon stopped, tilting its head as if amused by my outburst. There's nothing there, son, Dad said, his voice low and dangerous. Sit down, now. But I couldn't, not with that thing so close. I turned and ran, ignoring the gasps and calls behind me. I burst out of the church into the blinding sunlight, gulping in air that didn't reek of sulfur and decay. I ran until my lungs burned, finally collapsing on the grass in the park across town. As I lay there panting, the reality of what I'd done sank in. "I'm so screwed," I muttered, covering my face with my arm. "Language, young man," a familiar voice chided. I peeked out to see Mrs. Abernathy, my next-door neighbor, peering down at me with concern. Her little poodle, Mr. Fluffles, yapped at her feet. "Are you all right, Jacob?" she asked. "Shouldn't you be in church?" I sat up, forcing a smile. "Yeah, I'm fine, just needed some air." She frowned, clearly not buying it. "Well, you'd better head home soon. Your parents will be worried." As if on cue, I heard Mom calling my name in the distance. Mrs. Abernathy gave me a knowing look before continuing her walk. I stood, brushing grass from my clothes. Mom appeared around the corner, relief flooding her face when she saw me. "Jacob, thank goodness," she said, hurrying over. "What happened back there?" I shrugged, avoiding her eyes. "I don't know, I just felt sick." Mom pressed a cool hand to my forehead. "You don't feel warm. Is something else bothering you, sweetie?" For a moment, I considered telling her everything. About the nightmares, the whispers, the demon in the church. But the words stuck in my throat. "I'm fine, Mom," I lied. "Really, can we just go home?" She sighed, wrapping an arm around my shoulders. "All right, but your father will want to talk about this later." The drive home was silent, tension thick in the air. As we pulled into the driveway, I saw Dad's car already there. "He left right after the service ended," Mom explained, seeing my surprise. "He was pretty upset." My stomach churned as we entered the house. Dad was waiting in the living room, still in his pastoral robes, his face thunderous. "Sit," he commanded, pointing at the couch. I obeyed, sinking into the cushions. Mom hovered uncertainly nearby. "What?" Dad began, his voice dangerously calm. "Was that display about?" I stared at my shoes, unable to meet his gaze. "I'm sorry, I thought I saw something." "Thought you saw what?" I swallowed hard. A demon." The silence that followed was deafening. When I finally looked up, Dad's face was a mix of anger and disappointment. "A demon," he repeated flatly. "In our church." I nodded, feeling smaller by the second. Dad pinched the bridge of his nose. "Jacob, we've talked about this. These fantasies of yours have got to stop." "They're not fantasies," I protested. "I really saw it. It was right there, and it was coming for me, and—" "Enough!" Dad's shout made me flinch. "I will not have you spreading this blasphemy in my church." "Do you have any idea how this makes us look?" Robert, Mom interjected softly. "Maybe we should—" "No, Martha," he cut her off. "This has gone on long enough. Jacob, you're grounded. No phone, no computer, no going out with friends. And you'll spend every afternoon studying the Bible until you get these ridiculous notions out of your head." "But Dad, this is not up for discussion," he said firmly. "Now go to your room. I can't even look at you right now." I fled upstairs, slamming my door behind me. Angry tears burned in my eyes as I flopped onto my bed. "It's not fair," I muttered into my pillow. "Why can't they believe me?" "Because they can't see us," a raspy voice answered. I shot up, heart pounding. There in the corner of my room stood the demon from the church. It grinned, revealing those needle teeth again. "No one can see us but you, Jacob," it said, taking a step closer. "You're special, and soon, you'll be ours." I opened my mouth to scream, but no sound came out. As the demon reached for me, its claws glinting in the afternoon sunlight, I realized with horrifying certainty that this was only the beginning of my nightmare. I stared at the orange pill bottle in my trembling hands, my reflection distorted in the bathroom mirror. Dark circles under my eyes, skin pale and clammy. I barely recognized myself anymore. The demons had won. They'd taken everything from me, my sanity, my faith, my family's trust. What was left? "Just do it, Jacob," a familiar raspy voice whispered from the shadows. "End it all. You know you want to." I squeezed my eyes shut, willing the voice to go away. But it never did. Not anymore. With shaking hands, I unscrewed the cap. Mom's sleeping pills rattled inside, a grim melody of escape. I poured a handful into my palm, more than enough to do the job. "That's it," the demon purred. No more nightmares, no more disappointment, no more demons. Tears streamed down my face as I raised my hand to my mouth. "I'm sorry," I whispered to no one in particular. Maybe to God, if he was even listening anymore. Just as I was about to swallow, a sharp knock at the door made me jump. "Jacob?" Mom's voice tinged with worry. "Are you okay in there? You've been a while." I froze, pills still in my hand. I'm fine, Mom. Just a minute. Hurry up," the demon hissed. "Before she stops you." My heart raced. It was now or never. With a sob, I tipped my head back and poured the pills into my mouth. "Jacob!" Mom's voice was more insistent now. "Open the door, sweetie. You're scaring me." I swallowed hard, choking down the bitter pills. Almost immediately, the room began to spin. I stumbled, knocking over a glass on the counter. It shattered on the tile floor. "Jacob!" Mom was pounding on the door now. "Open this door right now!" My legs gave out and I crumpled to the floor. The last thing I heard was the splintering of wood as the door burst open and Mom's terrified scream. "Robert, call 911. Jacob's taken my pills." Then darkness. I floated in a void, weightless and numb. Was this death? It wasn't so bad, at least the demons were gone. But then a pinprick of light appeared in the distance. It grew brighter, expanding until it filled my vision. Warmth washed over me, chasing away the chill of the void. A voice, unlike any I'd heard before, echoed through my being. It wasn't words exactly, but I understood its meaning. "It's not your time, Jacob. Go back. Be strong. You are loved." The light intensified, becoming almost unbearable. I wanted to look away, but I couldn't. It filled every part of me, burning away the darkness, the fear, the hopelessness. For the first time in years, I felt peace. Then abruptly, pain. My chest felt like it was on fire. I gasped, choking on something in my throat. My eyes flew open to a world of harsh fluorescent lights and beeping machines. "He's back!" someone shouted. "Get the tube out! He's fighting it!" Hands held me down as the tube was removed from my throat. I coughed and spluttered, each breath painful but oh so precious. As my vision cleared, I saw Mom's tear-stained face hovering over me. "Jacob! Oh, thank God, my baby!" She dissolved into sobs, clutching my hand. Dad stood behind her, his face a mask of worry, and was that guilt? "What happened?" I croaked, my throat raw. A doctor stepped into view. "You overdosed, Jacob. We had to pump your stomach and put you on a ventilator. You were clinically dead for almost 2 minutes." The memories came flooding back, the bathroom, the pills, the darkness, and then the light. "The demons," I whispered. "Are they gone?" Mom and Dad exchanged a worried glance. The doctor frowned. "Jacob, we're going to have to discuss your mental health treatment going forward. This was a very serious suicide attempt." I shook my head weakly. "No, you don't understand. I saw a light, and I heard a voice. It told me to come back." "It's okay, sweetie," Mom soothed, stroking my hair. "You've been through a lot. Just rest now." But I couldn't rest. Not until I knew. I scanned the room, the corners, the shadows. For the first time in years, there was nothing. No whispers, no glowing eyes, no lurking figures. Just the quiet beep of the heart monitor and the hushed voices of my parents talking to the doctor. Days passed in a blur of tests, therapists, and tearful family visits. Aunt Sarah flew in from California, Uncle Mike drove up from Texas. Even Grandma Rose, who hadn't left her house in years, came to see me. Through it all, I waited. Waited for the demons to return, for the whispers to start again, but they never did. On my last day in the hospital, Dad came to see me alone. He sat heavily in the chair by my bed, looking older than I'd ever seen him. "Jacob," he began, his voice rough, "I owe you an apology." I blinked in surprise. Dad never apologized. For anything. He continued, I should have listened to you, should have seen how much you were struggling. Instead, I pushed you away, told you to pray harder, study more. I failed you as a father and as a pastor." Tears welled in his eyes, shocking me even more. "Can you ever forgive me, son?" I swallowed the lump in my throat. "Dad, Yeah, I forgive you." He grabbed my hand, squeezing it tight. "I promise you, things will be different. We'll get you the help you need. Real help, not just prayer." As he spoke, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The demons were gone, yes, but so was the crushing pressure of expectation, of disappointment. "Thanks, Dad," I said softly. "I'd like that." We sat in comfortable silence for a while until a nurse came in to start my discharge process. As I gathered my things, preparing to leave the hospital and face whatever came next, I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror. For the first time in years, I smiled. The demons were gone. I was free. And somehow I knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, I wouldn't have to face them alone anymore. As we walked out of the hospital into the bright sunlight, Mom on one side and Dad on the other, I took a deep breath. The air smelled sweeter, the colors seemed brighter. I was alive, and I was ready to start living again. The demons had tried to claim me, but something, God, fate, or just dumb luck, had other plans. And for now, that was enough. "Did you say something?" I said to my parents as we went to get in the car. "No, sweetie, you're probably just hearing things. They gave you quite a bit of medicine," my mom said. Something was not quite right. I just can't put my finger on what it is. In a panic, I start looking around to see if the demons were here. It feels like someone or something was watching me. But just like that, the feeling faded away. Maybe it's just the lingering fear of what had been happening to me. Make sure to like and subscribe to Infernal Chronicles for part 2.